Well, here we are, everyone. Hi,
Hi,
Janice.
Katie. Hi,
How are
sweetie pie.
you?
I'm
How are
good. I'm
you?
really good.
How nice we are with our bib necklaces, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. Let me fix this one
Mm-hmm.
over here. But
Mm-hmm.
today we have we have so many people watching already. Let
Really?
me put our beautiful necklace, your beautiful necklace. There's no hour about it.
Oh.
It's the Zen of Stringing, and you've called it Elemental. We're going to talk
Mm-hmm.
about this lovely piece today, and we've got a little bit of a bonus content where I share how to put some decoupage into these cool bezels, these new bezels from Tierracast. And you
Mm-hmm.
know, Janice, it's very timely. Uh, Happy Veterans Day that we're using poppies today because
Yeah.
poppies, you know, for Armistice Day, as Gran would say, she would
Mm-hmm.
say Armistice Day, the 11th hour of the 11th of November. Um,
Yes.
and so it's very timely. So a big thank you to all of our veterans near and far,
Yes.
domestic and abroad, from the great USA all the way to our great friends all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's perfect. The poppy is remembrance to be working with it today.
It is. It's lovely.
So we've got some people asking. Gita's over on Facebook. People are asking about your bionic knee. People are saying that we look amazing, which we do. Um, we've got
Oh,
everything going on here.
I got the nicest message from Gita this morning. I woke up to her on WhatsApp going, "Oh, I love your necklace."
It
So
is a
thank you, Gita. It was a great way to wake up to you. And every
yeah.
morning of the day of the week, I'd like to wake up to a message from you.
Yeah, it's so great. Well, and she's going to also link over on YouTube as well. So Geeta's
Oh,
working
thank
double
you.
duty for us today. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, people are loving it. Emma says, Janice, your new piece is gorgeous,
Oh, thank
which
you, Emma.
it really is. Michelle put up her remembrance poppy and her Canadian
Mhm.
leaves. So we've got a Canadian relative who's coming to visit us this weekend. So it's going to be all Saskatoon up in here, up in Fresno. Let me put my earrings on today. Here we go. So we've got so much to talk about. First, I want to talk about this necklace that I'm wearing that you sent over. This is
Mhm.
next week's uh,
It is.
Janice piece. So I'm going to put it under the camera so you all can see it. But we've got some new beads that are launching next week, next Tuesday, which are going to be great. So let me get to I'm going to add my piece to the stream so we can see it. And let me do this. There we go. Look at that. There we go.
Mm, great.
With a click of a mouse. So this piece, Janice, is in your Zen of Stringing um,
Yes.
style. So do you want to
Yes.
talk a little bit about this? And then we're going to jump into these here, but I want to talk about this piece first before we get to the kind of crafty stuff we're going to do.
Yeah, I think it was in 2017 when I did the first Zen of Stringing, and excuse me, I know if you go to the projects in on the website, you'll see the Zen of Stringing comes up, and then you open any of them, and you will see that there is a handout and
Mm-hmm.
an original video that I did with the first Zen of Stringing. And the beauty of this project is that it allows you to string whatever you feel like next. And you don't have to worry about if it's going to look right or uh, what's next to it. It's just you get into the relaxation and the joy of stringing. Some of them were done on Ceylon. This one was done on wax linen. You can choose whichever you want to use, depends on your beads. But the notion is you're building multiple strands. I have a couple of the samples here that
Yeah,
at some point we might
sure. Yeah,
we might
I
want to
can
look
add you.
at, but
Sure, you bet.
we don't need to right now.
Okay.
Um, it's up to you, but it's oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I have a tickle in my throat, but it's just a very relaxing and fun, easy project to use. Tribal beads, padres, spacers, allow some of your thread to show. And there's no such thing as stringing it the wrong way. There are
Yeah.
a few tricks we're going to go over around, well, what if you have a bead you can't get through two strands, for instance, or how do you do those saucers? But it's basically all in the episode notes, all in the video that we made for the original project. And if you watch that and read through the notes,
You're going
you're
to be
just going to
golden.
be, yeah, you're going to be
Yeah.
golden.
Yeah. Really, it's really a beautiful piece.
Thank
So
you.
let me pull this back just a little bit here. And then, Janice, we can look at the other samples after, maybe at the end,
Sure,
if that's okay
sure,
with you. Um,
absolutely.
so what I've got here, oh, you know what? I'm missing a light, which is why it feels so dark. So you all look at that real quick. Let me flick on one more light here. That might actually
Oh,
help a
that's,
bit.
yeah,
Yep, there we go.
brighter.
I felt that
Yeah.
something, I was like, why is that so dark? There we go. That's what I want to see. Um, so the components that we've got here, we had launched a while back this woodland collection from Tierracast, which we loved. And then we added in this bezel piece here. And I love this bezel. The back of the bezel, or in this case, was kind of the front of the bezel. You could use it either way. It has those beautiful poppies. It's California state flower, which are just gorgeous. I love them. Um, but it's also ready to put a little treasure inside.
Mm.
So I'm going to talk to you about doing this first, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to come to this, and Janice, you can let me know if you want me to do this attachment here or if you're going to do it on your end. I've got everything here for it, so either way.
I think you're going to do it. I might
Okay,
just talk
perfect.
through,
Okay,
how many jump rings you need and
sure,
why, but
sure.
yeah.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to put this aside for the moment, and we're going to start with these bezels just to get those, drying and stuff while we're doing everything else. So the bezel, if any of you scrapbook or make cards or things like my mom does, or I have some uh, punches, paper punches and stuff as well. But I could not lay my hands on those paper punches. What a surprise with all of my crafting stuff. So all you really need is you need some kind of idea of what you want to put in your bezel. And then I have a template from my jewelry making life. So I just grabbed my circle template. But if
That's
you
very
do,
clever.
yeah, right? If you do
Yeah.
have, because I can't draw a circle to save my life for sure. So I'm just looking. I have some little paper here. This is kind of cool. Just some scrapbook paper. This is a big one of those stacks of things like that. So all you do, let me lift this camera a bit. You could get that paper punch if you had a 1-inch punch, or you could just use a circle template, or you could just freehand it, right? You could kind of get your bezel down around your paper and trace around it if you want. But I've got my circle template here, and so I'm going to look for my 1 inch, which is right here. And this kind of has some old-fashioned handwriting in it, kind of innocuous, but kind of cool looking. So I'm just going to get my pencil, work it around. Whoops, sorry, my feed. Um, my camera just, hang on a second. I think I'm reconnected now. There we go. I think you can see it. There, I'm back. Sorry about that. And you want to be careful when you are cutting out this circle that we cut. I've cut using a pencil here, but when I cut this out, I want to cut right on the inside of that line so I'm not leaving any pencil mark to be seen. And that will ensure that this circle will sit just inside the bezel or just inside the lip of the bezel. Now notice here how I'm cutting. Can you see how I'm moving the circle and not my scissors? That's one of the secrets. I don't know if it's a secret or not, but it's a secret to getting a pretty straight cut is actually moving the piece rather than moving your tool, in this case, the scissors. That's also how I saw when I saw with the jeweler's saw. We do that same thing. We move the piece around and we keep our saw in the same place. So you can see that's pretty round. That's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad. So
And then, Kate, I like the way you automatically, when you took the template, it has those little lines on it to show you what's level.
right,
And
right.
you check that it was, on the horizon and the type
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to be
Right,
angled up,
right.
into
And I
space
just
yeah, you just
right.
did it instinctively, but
Yeah, it was completely automatic. That's so funny that
yeah.
you noticed. But it's really true. When you do layout for jewelry or when I do layout when I'm doing metalsmithing, these little hash marks, these little, registration marks, they're just kind of an automatic, that I make sure that, I'm cutting or I'm laying things out in an even manner. So thank you for noticing that. I didn't even notice. So there's a lot of things that you can use. And so I have a bin that says adhesives. So this morning, when I pulled down that bin and said adhesives, what I was looking for was just Elmer's glue, okay, which is what I use a lot of times for this. But I also pulled out some other things. You may have some of these at home if you're an omnicrafter like I am. And you can see, let me get this cord out of the way. Sorry about that. This is called an Omnigel. Um, this is this is actually like a transfer medium. You put it on a printed piece of paper. You put this over it, it transfers the image onto wood or glass or whatever. But this also will work as kind of a sealant because that's what we want to do. We're going to put this piece of paper in and we're going to seal this into the bezel. So you could use something like this. This is something that I used to carry at my store, and I think maybe we used to carry it at Bead Shop as well. This is called diamond glaze. You can get this at like your local craft store. It's like Mod Podge or it's like glue. It's the same thing. They just make them in different kind of thicknesses. The formula might be a little different. So something like this might work. This might be a little shinier rather than matte. The Elmer's glue is pretty matte here. You could also use a gesso. I have some gesso here from like just painting or whatever. You could use this as well. You could use things like any kind of fabric glue or tacky glue, anything that's going to dry clear. But most of us are Mod Podge. I didn't have my thing of Mod Podge here, but Mod Podge would work really well. But basically, they're all kind of a glue like this that dries clear. Now, Elmer's, most of us probably have a little tube of Elmer's glue that and it'll work just fine. So I've taken out a bit of the Elmer's from my bottle here. And I'm going to start by, and that's how I did both of these. I'm going to start by coming in with just a little paintbrush, or if you don't have a paintbrush, you could also use a toothpick, not a toothpick, a Q-tip, a cotton swab. But see how I'm painting a nice thin layer here. So yeah, any kind of clear glue, Crayola clear glue, that'll work. Any type of glue will really work. And I'm going to put that thin coating, and I'm going to make sure that nothing is puddling along the sides. Okay. Now I'm going to add my little paper here, and I'm going to try and line everything up as best as I can. And you can see, I should have probably double checked the size was right, but I've made a few of these today, so I know that my size is good. And then I'm going to burnish that paper down with my Q-tip to just make sure that there's no air underneath that paper. Okay, and I can feel that. That looks good. Now I'm just going to come in and paint some glue on it. Now if you have resin, what you could do, what I've done in the past is I've painted a layer of glue, let it dry really well so it seals, and then I'll pour my resin over the top of that if you want to pour resin, like, you know, a 2-part epoxy resin of any kind. There's a whole bunch out there on the market. But see, I've just added that one layer. I'll come in, I'll add one more layer, maybe slightly thicker this time, but I don't want to puddle. And it doesn't really matter if I get the glue on the edges here. I'm actually going to paint it along the top edge of this here. So this is ready. And can you see how that, there's a little bit of a puddle right there. Leah, that's a great, I'm getting some great suggestions here. Leah says if using a cotton swab, make sure it's completely saturated so it won't leave any cotton behind. Excellent. Excellent tip there. Here's a tip. We could also mix in a fine glitter or mica into the glue for the top coat. You sure could. You could also add a little bit of like alcohol ink or something to tint this. You could. Michelle is saying that you could also get clear stickers that look like a glass cabochon, which look like resin. They sell those at your local craft store, hobby store. Any of those things would work. So you can see here, this is one that I glued in previously. And it's sealed in there, and it has kind of a nice matte finish to it. I can come in and I can add another layer, and I can actually pack the glue in a little bit more here. But you just want to you don't want to puddle it too much, but this will add one more, whoops, trying to get my fingerprint in there. One more protective layer, and I'm going to come in around and seal it. So this one's ready to go. Now I did this one with this little kind of bird cage kind of feeling to it, right? Like that. You could use a photograph. Someone asked about a photograph. I have done them with photographs. What you want to do with photographs is I photocopy them so I don't wreck the original photograph, right? And then for a photograph, what I do is sometimes I will paint it over the photograph before I cut it out. I'll paint a little bit of glue on there, seal it, then cut it out. But you want to make sure for the photographs that you want to seal them. But I would go ahead and just photocopy them so you're not using the original. Okay. So I have this little bird charm, and I thought it might be kind of fun to add that into this bezel. So first, what we're going to do, this is one of our Nun Design little swallows, little birds here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut away. Let me lift the camera and I'll bring this up so you can see it. I'm going to cut away that loop, putting my finger over the loop so the loop doesn't come and hit me in the head. And I can file that flush if I need to. You can see, of course, there's pewter underneath these, but that's never going to be seen. So I'm just going to put it in. And the glue I'm going to use is your favorite and mine. I have so many favorite glues. Is it wrong to have a favorite glue?
No, but could you turn the bird the other way so the metal thing faced down
Sure, face
rather
down.
than
Sure,
up?
that's a good idea, Janice. So the metal is down there. That's smart.
Yeah.
Put it
Yeah,
there.
no.
No one
Oh,
will be the
you
wiser.
zap. You're doing your zap.
Yeah, I'm going to use Zap, and I'm coming in, and I'm going to add a little bit there. The thing about the Zap that I love is that it's gel, so it does kind of fill. But see where I put it on the back of the bird? There. And now, yeah, a copper Sharpie, Michelle is saying, a copper Sharpie would cover that metallic
Mm-hmm.
Sharpie. You bet, it sure would. Now I'm going to come in and drop it where I want it. Use my awl to push it down. And then resist all urges to screw around with it,
Mm.
right? I don't want to try and like reposition or, maybe I want to reposition it just a hair, but not, it's set really. So
Yeah.
that's it. So there it is. So I'm going to let that just sit 24 hours and it's done. And then I could come in if I wanted to after all of this. I could paint one more layer of Elmer's in here. I could also use resin as my adhesive, so I could fill this with resin, drop the bird right on, and the resin would act as the adhesive for the resin. But I like this dimensional look, and that's really
Mm-hmm.
all you have to do. So I'm going to just put that aside. And it's really I think it's a very pretty little piece there. Let's check this one. You can see it's actually starting to dry a little bit. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to add one more layer here.
I don't know why I've never done this.
I don't
And I
either.
thought it
I
was so
love it.
difficult.
Yeah, no, it's pretty simple. When I was little, talking about Gran and Armistice Day and fall and all that kind of stuff, crafts with glue, Elmer's glue was inexpensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So crafting with paper and glue was real big around our house because we didn't have a lot of fancy crafting tools, right? So,
Right.
but we always had glue. So you could, I said, make it sound like we were in a little cabin out in the woods, but we weren't. But Gran, she was a product of the Depression. So she was very thrifty when it came to everything, including crafts. So I'm just going to let these sit and we'll take a look at these more towards the end of our time
And then
together.
I just want to remind everyone that you want to completely wash your brush.
Yeah, I have a little bit of water here,
Mm-hmm.
right here, so that the glue, because if the glue
Right.
dries, this brush is going to be no good to you.
Right.
So thank you for that. Thank you, watercolorist. So that's great. And yes, Leslie is asking again, you could use the gesso or Mod Podge. Any of those will work. And I love my Canadian sister says paper crayons. Paper was her jam as well. It's so true. You could do so much with just
Mm-hmm.
crayons and paper and glue. It's great. Cindy's asking about, are those turquoise birds? So they are. So stay tuned, Cindy, till the end of
Oh, they're
that.
not
So
turquoise though. They're glass,
they're not.
right?
They're turquoise colored. They are glass, but we're going to talk about these turquoise colored birds in a bit. So let's take a look at this necklace then, Janice. I
Okay.
have the two ferns
Mm-hmm.
here, and uh, you decided to use this bezel here for the
Right.
center and connect them up.
Mm-hmm. I did. And I used uh two jump rings or three.
Yeah, we use just
I
just
think I
actually a
used
single, just the single jump ring here because the if you look, if I you can see I've laid it out here. The
right,
fern,
right,
the opening is flat, the opening is flat or the ring is flat here on this bezel. So all you really need is a jump ring that's large enough for this to move
right,
around,
right.
okay? And to move nicely. So if you wanted a little more room, you could put even a small length of chain or 3 rings or whatever, but that's how this is connected with some jump rings here.
Right, and you could change the ferns in different directions. You
Hmm.
could have them, go up, you could have the you could yeah, it's whatever that's lovely, that's very pretty
Hmm.
with one going up and one going it's really not
Yeah,
I wow, look at
it has
that.
a nice flow to the
Yeah,
piece. Yeah,
it does.
kind of unexpected but pretty, I think. And then
Right.
you used these botanical beads. So I have some wax linen here. I have it in the blue.
Mhm,
And I want
mhm.
to show everyone essentially what you did here, Janice. You started, it looks like, with one. I'm going to raise the camera a bit. And I'm actually going to put myself on the camera here. What you would do for that first strand is you kind of want to measure like here, maybe where that is going to be, going all the around to the back, it's doubled, and then adding some length. That's about how I'm
Add a little more,
measuring
Kate,
this. Yeah, I think so, a little bit more.
because
Maybe
of
like
all the
this,
knots.
the knots
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
good.
So
Yeah.
let me cut this and let me measure it. And I have my
The necklace is about, 18 inches to the bottom
18.
of the
Hmm.
fern or something, could be longer, maybe it's
This is
20, but
about 60 inches of thread.
mm, right,
And so it's doubled, that 60 is doubled
right.
over. So to start here, Cindy Brooks, she wants to see those birds. Yes, they are birds around my neck, and I'm going to show you. I just love them so much.
Mm,
Here you can see I've come through with the wax linen, or Janice has come through. I'm going to come through here with the wax linen. And we're going to bring that wax linen in just an overhand knot here. Now, what Janice was saying with that botanical bead, 2 strands of this wax linen wasn't going to fit through that bead. I'm just going to grab a bead here. I don't have a botanical bead, but I have a striped gooseberry bead here. So if 2 strands don't fit, in this case they do, maybe I should use one of these birds. I
go
know they're
ahead.
not on the
Yeah,
site
same.
yet, but why not? I'm just going to tease it. Yeah, see how 1 strand will fit through our birdie. All Janice did was she came in and she ran a strand of the wax linen on the other side and then knotted.
Mhm.
So see, there's that bluebird of happiness and the pretty blue wax linen. And this, so take a look here, everyone. See how this would be this side here of this, but see how this also could be a single strand? I mean, a centerpiece here. These could come out. You could add more thread here, and this could be the center like that, right? I'm doing my Zen of
Well,
stringing.
Kate, if you wanted to make, let's say we made that a centerpiece, if you
Mm-hmm.
added even one Ashanti or two Ashantis,
Mm-hmm.
you could then tie on more threads to the loop of the Ashanti. You need
Right.
some kind of loop or something.
Something, right.
So if you
You
bring
could
those
add
two,
it,
yeah,
right. You could add it here.
right.
You could also, one of the tricks that I do, and I'm going to show you this. One of the places, and I'm going to use a different color of thread so you folks can see the difference here where I'm adding it. I'm going to use this darker color, and I haven't measured it. I'm just going to add it. One of my favorite places to add thread is below this knot when I
That's,
tie it above a
I never
centerpiece.
think to do that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite places to add. So that if I could then, since these Ashanti saucers are so big, and if I wanted more thread to show, I could. But again, this is all buying into Janice's Zen of stringing. You make these decisions and problem solve as the challenge presents itself. That's what this type of necklace is all about. So see, I'm going to just tighten it here. You have no idea that that thread isn't knotted. It's just underneath there. Now I can come in, we'll add that next Ashanti. Let me get these out of the way. These Ashanti saucers have varying hole sizes as well. So some might be a little bit smaller in your package, some might be a little bit larger. So you just have to make some decisions about how you're going to attach them. So see here, I've come through in that figure 8. I'm going to pull everything down. These two strands are two different lengths, but it doesn't matter. And see what Janice did here was she just laid those saucers kind of one on top of the other, like that. Okay?
It's an old African um,
The belt,
stitch that's used for
yeah,
wedding, an
the
apron
wedding
of
belts.
coins. Yeah,
Yeah, they're really
yeah.
cool. And you can see there's that side view. So I'm going to go ahead, and what you could do is you could knot these individually so that there's not one giant knot. And then we'll add our third strand. So see, there's one right there. Here's our second one right here. And we'll add our third one
Hmm.
right here. And I'll add it in that blue. I'm just going to cut, again, a short piece here. This is going to come through here, come through that Ashanti. If you didn't add the thread down here, you would add this thread on, you'd add this one and then this one. But I added one
That's
just to
what I
show you
did with
with
the
this one here,
necklace.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can add those threads anywhere. I just wanted to show you a different way of adding that thread to the centerpiece. So we've got these, and it's kind of fun to use um, different colors here if you want, or all the same. And so now, Janice, what you did, it looks like, is you just separated these strands up and you
Yes.
strung.
Yes. That's all I did. Yeah, it's a very forgiving way to string beads and design. It's just big beads, little beads, big beads, spacers. Um,
Yeah, and
it's
can you
just,
see? It's just super simple. You can see the connections here, and some start down here at the knot. Some you tied a knot up more to the top, and you just randomly spaced the thread so you see some of that thread the running through the strands, so you can see it. And the saucers, they don't really rub against each other because we have tied these fairly tight. They might rub against each other a bit, but it's not going to hurt the glass at all. And so then, Janice, you came up here to the top,
right.
and you
I tied them
actually
all
reduced.
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you tied them all together and then you reduced some threads. So let's say here, let's say that these have our beads on them here, right?
Mhm.
I'll come in and I'll tie everything in a knot using all the strands. Let me get these birdies out of the way, like this. Then did you glue here or did you just cut?
I think I put a little bit of glue.
A little bit of glue there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I would
yeah,
do too.
of
And
the
then
GS hypo.
the GS hypo, right.
Hmm.
And then how many threads? Do you remember how many you took out?
Yeah,
Two, maybe?
I took out all but two.
All but two.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Well, we have two
No?
running up the
Right.
center and then two coming around.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I took two out there
Hmm.
and then I believe this is what happens with age. Then I believe at the top I took out the two and I ended with just two to macrame over.
Yeah. So I'll come in, I would put my glue there,
Mhm.
let that set. I'd cut away my excess thread. You'd isolate two strands for the center
Mhm.
and two strands for the macrame. And
Right.
let's go ahead and I'm going to make these even so it's easier to string on. You used these gooseberry
I love those
beads.
beads.
I do too. And they have a hole that's large enough to go through doubled. If one doesn't work, just move on to the next one because the holes do
Mhm.
vary in size. There's another, and then this one. And then what you do, just as if you were doing a regular macrame bracelet, I'd come up. I want to show you here. I'd clip it or attach it some way to the board so it's nice and tight. Do the same thing over here. Then I'd make a couple of flat square knots here. Whoops, it's getting caught. So however many you wanted, maybe 2 or 4, depending on the length. Like if you need to
Mhm.
add length here, you could do more. If you don't need to add length, maybe you just want to do them in pairs. Like that and like that. Slide them down. This is a very beautiful closure. And remember, with a necklace like this, with what we call a museum quality necklace, right? We used to have a class that was called museum quality necklace. You want to make sure that not only is the front of the necklace or the centerpiece of the necklace interesting, but you want to make sure that your closure is interesting as well. Okay, so we've got this. We've done these 3. And see how Janice ended with the cap here. So it looks like, oh, and I think you came back afterwards and put the cap on after. Janice, did you or no, you had to have done it here, actually.
Uh,
Let me put these through. I think you put these through here this way.
I I just made this a couple of weeks ago. I don't think I put a knot. What did I do?
Let me see how many are
I
going
think I
through here.
maybe
Oh, I see. I see what you did.
did I drop a thread before I put the
You
last one
did.
on?
You
Yeah,
did. So these you drop
right.
and you put this on.
Mhm. So I glued it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't cut the tails until I knew it was really dry, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if I wanted to do like a fringe with the tails,
Right.
so I just put the glue on, then put the cap on, and then started the button loop or
Right.
right.
And you can see here how I'm doing that. And let me just show you. The rest is fairly self-explanatory. Can you see here we'll do just a couple of knots. We'll go through, we'll add the button. I always add the button first because you don't know what the button, how large your loop is going to be until your button is on. So here's the
Mhm.
button. Flip all this over. And this will come back and I'll come in and I'll macrame back down. Now what you could have done is you could have put the button on, looped this thread over, and macrameed up the loop as
Mhm.
well. You could have done that, but I didn't. So now I have to macrame back down like this. And then it'll just meet at the acorn cap. Let me put all of this together so I give myself a little bit of room there. So see how I've done that? That's coming up. I've kind of shortened the loop a little bit, and now I'll come back down and macrame over my original macrame here. But again, I could have just put the button on first, looped it back over itself, and done the macrame just once. But I didn't plan that far ahead. And so now you can see I would just continue that on down, continue, continue. And then I'd make some decisions here about, is there going to be fringe? Do I need these ends? Or do I add a little bit of glue here, finish my macrame, and then I'm just going to come in and clip all of this away. Glue that macrame closed, let that sit, and then get rid of those ends as well. And I'm just clipping this now so you can see it. But that's it. Now the loop side is the same, except there's no button. There's just a loop. So you just keep macrame, 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 come back around, bring your thread back down, macrame over the top, and then at the end here, you can see Janice right over the macrame. What she did was she put the charms there,
So I
and
also
that's it
just want to clarify that I used a new piece of cord. I didn't
for
take
this.
the
Yeah.
yeah. And I like to start the macrame for the loop and also for the button about a quarter to a third, maybe a quarter of an inch to a third of an inch away from the cap so that
Mm-hmm.
when I come back down and I loop back down, I'm not always macrameing over
Over
thread.
macrame, right.
Yeah,
There's not, so
so
it reduces the bulk here at the end.
yeah, so I leave a
Yeah,
little bit of space right there, so and then so I when I bring it around and then I macrame the finishing on the loop, it's not,
it's
doubled
not
over.
bulky. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good tip, a good point. Looks great. So that's it, really.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
our
can
story.
measure that loop to make sure that this goes in right before you close it. Let me bring our little bezel friends back in here. You can see this one that I put the bird in. That's in there. That's not going anywhere. And then we've got these. They're drying with my
Mm,
glue. So these will be ready to work with as well. I want to show you. I know you've all been waiting for with bated breath for this bird necklace. Janice is going to be on with me next Wednesday. This is what's coming up. These birds are going to launch on Tuesday, and the date on Tuesday, I'll tell you, is
this
the 14th is when they launch of November. If you're watching this live, so you know. And this is a piece that Janice did. We've got a bunch of beautiful birds launching, and we're going to talk about wire wrapping and how to put all of these together. So you'll see these, but it's a beautiful color graduation. We've got some other beads that are launching that are going to really accentuate this design, but it's really great, Janice. It was
Oh, thank
I,
you.
inspired for sure.
It's so
And
simple.
you could add your
Yeah,
little
I
bezel,
love
but
that.
that's gilding the lily. I think that this is really beautiful. And we've used again a nun design, one of our new heart charms. Yeah, it's really great. I'm going to take this out of frame and I'll put you and I back on.
Okay.
And then I'm going to add your piece. Do you want to talk about some of let me get my piece out there. I'm going to add this, and let's go
Okay.
ahead and you can show some of your samples that you've got there.
So this one, the, you're going to ask me the names, and I don't have the names, but they're all under the Zen of Stringing right at the
Yeah.
top of the projects.
hmm This was
And
a kit that you made, I think, for that first Zen of Stringing.
yes, I
It
think
was
so.
a Janice kit, but it's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, it was these beads.
Homecoming was this one was
Yes, it
called
was
Homecoming.
these beautiful impression jasper beads that um, I just fell in love with. And then I guess I could show it this way, which is really better. I'm just going to go up with it. And
And stop there. See everybody that cluster of A dots. So this is very reminiscent to Emily's beaded berry, how she makes those clusters. Janice just simply used all the same A dot on every strand of the wax linen, and it kind of
right,
makes its own little bead
right,
out of a bunch of beads. Yeah, it's cool.
right. And I didn't weave them. They're just strung and
Yeah,
then
just strung up straight.
they're brought through a bead and then knotted, strung through, brought through a bead, or you can knot above it, whichever. And um, then this is the rest of it. Um,
Really nice. And see there
thank
at the
you.
end, Janice also decided to utilize tassels.
Right. I love
Um,
these, just these ends. And they don't get in the way because they don't go through anything. You just
mhm.
take your loop and your clasp and they work and then the tassels just sit on the sides. So
Yeah,
that's
it's
one of them.
really pretty.
Thank
And
you.
while you're
And
changing that up, Janice, I'll let you change it up and I'll show this real quick here. someone was asking in the chat earlier, do the 11-aughts work on the wax linen? And they do.
Yes,
You can see I've got
yes,
11-aughts right here, and they
yes.
work. The 8-aughts, Janice, for that particular necklace, I believe you used the Ceylon in fine. I believe that's what that was.
Uh, it's very possible.
Because I
Yes,
think
it
we
looks like
added
it.
a spool in the kit when we did it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you're
And
back
then,
on the
okay,
you're back on the camera here.
okay. And we used to carry these wonderful African um, wood
The
pendants.
yeah, the bone
Yeah.
centerpieces.
Oh, bone.
Really pretty.
I
Bone,
get it
yeah.
mixed up with bone and wood. And then these are our 11-aughts, and I
Mm-hmm.
used I probably fine here. And then this is like a little, it's ostrich shell, but this is also done
That little
just
disc,
like
yeah,
the
it's
Ashanti saucer.
so classic.
And the nice thing about adding small saucers like this is that you can also then add another string or drop a strand. This
Hmm.
little bead, Kate, we need to get back in again. This
We have
little,
it. We have the Sahara sand. We have it.
this is smaller than that though. This is
Is it
tinier. Yeah,
tinier, smaller? Because we do
yeah,
have the Sahara
yeah,
sands in
yeah,
the smaller bicones, but we could find those
yeah,
smaller ones again.
yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Um,
They're
and
great.
then I used in the back, I used one of our trade beads for for the
Yeah,
button.
for the closure. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's that sand cast. And see
yes,
how all the strands, everyone, they come up through the hole in that bead, and then everything is knotted right at the top. So
mm-hmm,
when Janice puts that necklace on, those tassels go through the loop, and then the loop sits on that underside, just there under, right there under the bead.
right.
Really a beautiful way to close it off.
I love this one too.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And I think the takeaway, folks, from this particular project, and I urge you to go to the project and download the episode notes for these. It really is why Janice called this Zen of stringing. Don't fuss about the end before you have the beginning of this necklace done, and just
Right.
let the Zen of stringing take you on the journey.
It's
Yeah.
true. I think it's a lesson in in allowing the beads to help you find your path. And if you can allow them to just, drive the decision of what bead should go on next. And if you can't, you want to put us back on, Kate? And
Sure, sure.
if you can't choose, if you can't figure out what that next bead is, the beauty of this project is you have another strand and you
Right.
can pick up a bead and put it on another strand and let that bead inform what you're going to do next. And it makes it much more effortless, more enjoyable, and I think it's going to be, changing, life changing in terms of how you choose to design and string if you can let yourself flow with the beads.
Yeah, just when you say let the beads kind of inform what you're going to do next, or the design that you're going to use. There we go. That looks great. I just
Mhm.
put this one on. And you can see, so the tutorial for this, if you go over to the Zen of Stringing, we did a long broadcast when this first came out on the step by step, and there's the episode notes. So go ahead and go over to beadshop.com, and you can see it's here, the link is here. Gita put it up, but if you go to the project right over on Bead Shop, Zen of Stringing, click on any of the projects in that Zen of Stringing section, and you'll see the handout that you can download. It's really comfortable and it's not very heavy,
No.
Janice. It's really great. It's because, some of the beads are floating on this wax linen.
Mhm.
We've got a lot of, this type of, if you look at our necklace section on Bead Shop and you look at some of the older broadcasts we have, I've done a lot of the big multi-strand pieces. So there's a whole bunch of learning about that on there. So let me tell you all that, of course, you can go right to the project and products from today's broadcast. You can find them right on our website. You can sign up for our newsletter for the latest discounts, giveaways, and new products. Check your newsletters today, folks, because we've got a special going on right now. And of course, you can find all of our social media on beadshop.com, on Instagram, at the Bead Table, our wonderful Facebook group, and of course, hit that like, subscribe, and notification button right on our YouTube channel. You
Right.
can see that Zen of Stringing right over on beadshop.com. That's a beautiful picture of Janice's finished piece, and you'll be able to go to the project page, take a look at the project map, and it's all there for you to check out. So, what a triumph, Janice! As always, I've got two
Well,
necklaces
thank
here
you.
that I get to change in and out of. It's very exciting. So you'll be back next week
I will.
when we with our birds.
Yes.
I wore the right thing. How did I know that you and I were going to match today?
I don't know. ESPN.
Perfect. That's right. Well, I think everyone had a great time. I'm just making sure I've got
Thank
all
you
of the
for joining
questions.
us, everyone.
Yep, we love it. So thank you ever so. And um, we will see you next week. And yeah, consult that handout, the button loop, all of that. It's all in there. So
Exactly.
you'll see that. And rewatch this broadcast as well. It'll help to clarify things. So thanks everybody so much. Janice, I'll talk to you after this broadcast.
Okay.
And she and I will see you next week for this wonderful
Yes.
migration necklace. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye, all.
Talk to you soon.